This is a big day for North Carolina. Even though we all know the economic challenges that we've had in this state and country, North Carolina is on the road to recovery. I'm very sure of that. I can show you some tax revenue and some housing starts and some jobs. Jenny Lancaster is over here, the number 2 at Corrections. Thank you, Jenny. So we can feel comfortable that we're on a recovery road. But yesterday when we released the budget, we were very clear and very direct. It's going to be a slow, hard recovery. And this is the new normal in which we find ourselves, not the giddy days of 2007, 2008. So I say all that to just simply point out to those of you who understand the justice system and public safety and government that it's still going to be hard. Next year is going to be extremely hard, and there are going to still be budget challenges. And the only way we can move North Carolina forward, and I am determined to do that, even in hard times, and you are determined to do that, even in hard times, is to set North Carolina's government straight, which means we're going to find innovative ways to do more with less, and ways to use technology differently because it saves money and provides, in many cases, a better service for the people. And that's what today is all about. Today we begin the North Carolina Justice Reinvestment Initiative. Those just aren't fancy words, my friends. There's real meat behind those words. And what we are announcing is a partnership. North Carolina in collaboration with the Pew Center on the States and the United States Justice Department and the Council of State Governments, we're going to come together. We're going to come together and we're going to sit and work together and think together, and we're going to create a new template for corrections in North Carolina. My goal and the state's goal is to create a bipartisan, data-driven strategy that strengthens community safety. Let me say that again. A data-driven, bipartisan initiative to strengthen public safety while we save taxpayers' dollars. Bipartisan is important because indeed in this country and in this state, if you're going to do anything differently, and this is going to be innovative, you've got to have both parties willing to make change and to take on the public and to convince people in North Carolina this is the right initiative. This initiative is part of my priority to set North Carolina's government straight as we also strengthen community safety. They were reflected, those principles, in the budget I released yesterday. For those of you who weren't there, let me very briefly remind you that this same group of players has helped me implement something called the Criminal Justice Law Enforcement Automated Data Services. That's CJ Leads. That's the cool name we've given it. A data-driven system which will provide law enforcement all across North Carolina with access in real time to the criminal records of the folks they may encounter in the courtroom, in the magistrate's office, or on the road. This is going to help law enforcement do their jobs better. It's going to keep our communities safer, and it's going to help us put bad people behind bars quicker. So the budget has $10 million more for CJ Leads, and secondly, a $5 million expansion item for Viper, which is something that I'm really personally so supportive of, so that local law enforcement and public safety and state workers can talk to each other in times of any kind of an emergency. That communication is desperately important, as we all learned after 9/11. These investments will also help law enforcement to be more effective as we work to keep North Carolina straight. But in tough times, again, innovation has to drive the decision-making by me and by the General Assembly. And I believe there is a way that we can strengthen public safety without spending tremendous new taxpayer money. Between 2000 and 2008, North Carolina's population in the prisons climbed 25%. Think about that. In 8 years, we had a 25% increase in the number of people in our prison system, from 31,581 to 39,326 people. You can't build prisons fast enough in a cash-depleted arena at this rate of growth. So something somewhere, driven by data, has to change. Over that same period, while we were growing prisoners 25%, Secretary Keller and the Department of Corrections budget had to grow 43%, from $918 million to $1.31 billion. The question I ask, as a mama and as a grandmama, and as somebody who wants North Carolina to be globally competitive as we come out of this recession, is do I want to spend all our new money on prisons, or do I want to spend our new money on education and jobs? And that's the strength that this bipartisan group brings to the discussion. Because quite simply, we do nothing at all, and many states are in the same place, and some states are choosing to do nothing, just do more of the same old, and build more beds and stuff more people in those prisons. By 2019, projections tell us that we're going to have to add about 8,500 beds to our prison system, $2 billion for operation and construction. So again, $6,000 or so for a child in school versus $34,000 or $35,000 or so for a prisoner in our system. Where do you think the best payout is? We all know the answer to that, but the overriding principle has to be public safety and the safety of our communities. So this announcement that we're making today is tremendously important and very, very time sensitive and very, very appropriate in the area that we find ourselves in. The Justice Reinvestment initiative that we begin today is going to help us gather the data and mine the data that we need to make really good decisions, as we know we're going to have to invest tax dollars into public safety, or as we know we're going to have to change the paradigm of how we house and how we control people who have broken the law in North Carolina. I believe this initiative will allow North Carolina very quickly to understand how we can get the most bang for the buck in public safety. This will not be without controversy. It was not an easy decision for me to make, to say, yes, let's do this collaborative in North Carolina. There will be those who say, what in the world is going on? There will be those who challenge the data that we mine as we explore together the alternatives for this decade. But doing nothing will only force the state to do more of the same. And I don't believe that's the leadership any of us expect or need in the 21st century. In these tough times, North Carolina has to be tough on crime. But I have never figured out that it isn't also equally important to be smart on crime. And that's what this collaborative will do. Citizens demand from all of us public safety on one hand, community safety, which I'm such a part of. But on the other hand, they also demand fiscal stewardship. And this is an attempt to match those two and to balance the outcomes to produce a new product for North Carolina. I believe this reinvestment initiative allows us to do both. And our friends in the press who are here, I would encourage and invite you to come to some of these meetings and to help us walk the general public through this as we begin the discussion, to help allay the fears and the concerns, and perhaps to build some support for change in a state that has to change in one way or the other. So I thank you, I thank these partners, I thank especially Representative Stam and Senator Kinnaird for bringing together Republicans and Democrats and the other members of the General Assembly here to work together on something that will have to define the further investment of North Carolina's limited dollars.